Welcome back. Preparations for AmaZulu King Misuzulu Zwelithini's coronation are underway. It's been set for the 28th of May, but there are still those who are rejecting the king's accession to the throne. Today, the king reiterated the call for unity. For more on this, we're joined by Professor Musa Xulu from the Heritage Development Trust. Professor, thank you very much for your time this evening. I want to find out, first of all, what impact the death of Princess Thembi Zulu Ndlovu has had on the Royal House and specifically on this journey towards the coronation and the legal challenges.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to yourself, my sister, and good evening to those watching now. Let me start by passing our condolences to the Ndlovu family for losing a mother, a grandmother, someone I have known since 1988. It's a pity that she dies at a time when there were all sorts of controversies. And what we in Indonza, Yesizwe, for example, which is a combination of amakosi, academics, and ordinary people here in KZN and Gauteng and Mpumalanga, we had been, through research, saying that all this conflict in the Zulu Royal household is unnecessary and is uncalled for, because King Misuzulu, by tradition, which is what the 2003 Act, Traditional Leadership Framework Act, requires. By tradition, King Misuzulu is born to be the next king of the Zulus, which he is now. There is nothing to contest there, because tradition says that if one of the wives of the king has had her lobola being paid by the nation, the Zulu nation, and secondly, she comes from a kingship, the tradition is very clear that that means that her firstborn son will be the next king of Zulu. So there's been total compliance with the tradition, irrespective of whether she's wife number 4, wife number 3, and so on. I know that this other faction has been saying, she comes from Swaziland and all of those things, but that's xenophobia. You cannot say that because the mother comes from another country, therefore she does not qualify to give birth to a king. There's been long-standing relations between the Swazi people, the Zulu people, the Xhosa people, the Sotho people, everyone. So it's unfortunate that they had go this route, and somebody that had worked very hard in terms of resuscitating the customs of the Zulus, like Prince Thembi, has now passed on at a time when their differences, unnecessary differences, have not been resolved.
Am I hearing you correctly that you're saying that the legal challenges to the succession of the Zulu throne are baseless?
They are not only in terms of customs, because you must remember that the Traditional Leadership and Governance Framework Act of 2003 requires that those raising the name of the next king must meet and follow their customs in doing so, and then motivate accordingly, according to the custom. So it's baseless. None of those 22 people, for example, who are challenging and wanting to go to court, none of them qualifies to be the next king of Zulu. None of them. They just don't. It's unclear what their problem is. But it is clear that the king is there, and the president of the country has done very well to look at the motivations, and Umntwana Wapindanga and President Mangosuthu Buthelezi did very well as a prime minister of the Zulu nation to lead the processes up till now. It is now very clear, the president has indicated that during May, the king will be enthroned and coronated. So we're waiting for that now. That's why there was this meeting at Ulundi today. The meeting is to make sure that the planning goes ahead, irrespective of what this group of 22 would love to do in the courts. They're free to go to the courts, but in terms of Zulu customs, It's all just baseless.
Tell us a little bit more about the preparation for a coronation. What traditional elements are at play now? And we heard today King Misuzulu asking for everyone in the royal nation to work together, to play their parts, because timing is not on their side.
Well, it's more of event management. You need lots of role players and their roles to be clear. Remember, there is government, and that team is led by the Minister of Culture, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zulu. And then, of course, the Premier in the province here is also involved, and the Culture MEC. That's the government aspect. Then there is the nation's aspect. The nation is interested groups that would have an interest on what role to play during the coronation. You can expect 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 people in that event, because of the excitement that is already there. And then there is what the Zulu royal family will do. Now, there are secret rituals that go with putting a king on the throne. For example, very soon he will have to go and on a hunt, traditional hunt, to make use of his father's weapons to show that he is now sitting at his father's position. And then there's also something called Ungena Esibayeni, which is very secret. And most of it, of course, very few people will acknowledge what happens inside of that crown. And then there is the formal aspect where President Ramaphosa will hand over the certificate. Now, all of this needs some pacing. And I know that even artists, for example, are highly excited in Johannesburg. Many people will be coming down here, so you may find that there will be many other fringe events which are not official as a result of the excitement of Zulus having a king once more. I must also point out that the King of Zulu is not just a king of Zulu people. You must know that during the reign of King Shaka, there was a lot of Zulus who left here and went to Zimbabwe, Malawi, Zambia, Tanzania, Mozambique. All those people are excited and they're looking forward. In their countries, they call and to say, now that we know the date, we're making preparations to drive down to KwaZulu and to acknowledge this very big accomplishment of the nation. There's also even in the USA, some people who call themselves Zulus, they calling to say they want to come. So it's going to be a big event. Now, event management, if you study it, you know, there are details that you have to do. But then, as you rightly say, there are also traditional secret rituals that have got to be performed just to strengthen the throne and to strengthen the king. And then traditional healers, most of whom we are having them here in our organization in Donza, will also be very active to strengthen using their traditional medicines to strengthen the throne. And then, of course, knowledge. The knowledge that we talk about is here, not hidden knowledge. It's in these books. So all of this will play out on that day and maybe a few days before, and maybe for the whole month of May, which is Africa Month.
Of course, in between all of this, we also have a royal wedding in the mix. Do we know whether that's set to happen before the coronation or after? Are there certain traditional elements that would have an impact on the coronation itself?
Well, traditionally, when he ascends the throne, the queen must be there as an official queen. So even though I'm not the spokesperson of the king or the royal family, they will follow those traditions. Last week, you may recall, we went to Newcastle for the last of these exchange of gifts events that need to happen before the actual wedding takes place. Once that was done last week on Saturday, we knew that the date may be announced any day now for the wedding.
So what I'm hearing you say, without saying it officially, is that we're likely to see a royal wedding happen between now and the 28th of May. We won't hold you to that. We'll get an official word from the Royal House. Thank you very much for speaking to us. That was Professor Musa Xulu, a heritage expert.